Well, welcome everyone, and I hope it's not too late to wish you a happy new year. I'm Dr. Karen Harper. I am the president of the Nashville Jung Circle, in case you haven't been with us before. And we're very pleased tonight to have one of our favorite speakers return and talk about one of our favorite subjects, Dreamwork. Laura is actually going to be facilitating and presenting the Jung Circle's very first sponsored Dreamwork group. And we're very excited to do this. There's been a lot of requests for this, and so Laura is absolutely the right person to do it. And before I introduce her, just some housekeeping. Please keep yourselves muted. There will be a couple of question and answer periods. We'll also have a breakout room so you can discuss your own personal dreams. And so there's that bit. Um, Laura is a longtime dream worker. She's certified by the Hayden Institute, where she now mentors others. I'm not sure, are you on the faculty as well? Or, yeah, okay, that's
Yeah,
what
I
I
mean, that's the stat. Yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah. And so she also facilitates both local and remote groups, including, of course, Dreamwork. So, okay, Laura, take it away.
Well, it's, good night. That's what you say. It's dream time. So it's so good to see faces I've seen before and old friends and new people. So thanks for being here. And I wanted to say a couple of things about what we're doing. And it is true that from time to time, the Nashville Jung Circle, and by the way, if you've never tapped into the riches of the Nashville Jung Circle, this is the greatest group. I just love them. And y'all have done so many great things for the community, and you've got the YouTube channel up. So all the really rich programs that have been happening are on the YouTube channel, and everything gets posted. So you can get quite an education that way. I wanted to say that because this has been, this is coming out of the desire to have a dream group, and some people have talked about that for years. And also because it's going to rain really hard in East Tennessee where I live, I'm going to tell you about that part first. It's really like what I was going to say at the end, but this way you'll know about what the follow-up is, okay, instead of later. So the idea is that this is kind of an introduction to how my personal dream, my dream work group is gonna run. I'm trained in the Hayden method, and it's we're going to offer this every other Thursday night starting on the 26th of January, and it's going to run through May 11th. So it's 8 sessions, and we cap the group at 6 because it's an intimate, committed group. That's how this works. And so what you would learn there is we're going to practice tonight. So you'll see what it is that we do. And I'll just say this too. This is not therapy. I am not a therapist. I'm a dream worker and a spiritual director. And so what we do in a group is we are all about the dream, not the dreamer. So when you go to therapy and you work with your dreams, it's about you and how that dream is helping you on your journey. When you come to dream group, one of the things that makes this really work in this model I use is that it's really not about you. Right? We're looking at that at what happens to everyone when we all dream your dream. All right, because we're understanding that the dreams are coming, at least on one level, from the collective unconscious, and they work on us like a soul poem, like the way that scripture gets read over and over in whatever culture, that there's something eternal there that has significance for everybody in the circle. And I've been doing this about 25 years, and I'm not kidding, without fail, this works kind of to ping these important things going on in you. All right, when you work a dream. And it is important to kind of stay out of the dreamer's personal stuff. So that's the way we work. And we're gonna do a dream tonight, so you'll see it in action and see what it is. But the reason I feel so strongly about this, it's wisdom work, it's soul work. Dream work may not be everybody's sort of first practice, but it's really helpful to be kind of dream literate so that you know what to do with an important dream that comes up, or you know how to listen if somebody is offering a dream or has something to say. You can kind of meet that person with a sense of the both the playfulness and the gravity that the dream is offering for deep wisdom work and individuation. So what we'll do tonight is we'll talk about really basics of two really big Jungian basics. Okay, I'm not going to get down into complicated stuff, but y'all are the Jung groups. You know this. Okay, so just some reminders, and then we'll work with some ways to that you personally can work with your dreams, and then we'll do some group dream work, and there'll be a couple of opportunities for questions. All right, as we go. I'm gonna here's my contact information in the chat, and be in touch if you're interested in the group. Let me know. There'll be like a total of 6. I don't know if somehow we get 12 people, or more. We can do more than one group, but that is how we do it. So what I want to do is share my screen here, and I'm going to bounce in and out of pictures because it's good. Now, can y'all see the whole screen? Yes. Okay. So what I wanted to do is just start by saying, that's basically it right there. Okay. That is dream work and Jungian, the two big Jungian concepts in not a nutshell, but a monarch chrysalis. All right. And so, what I wanted to, say are, those two big concepts that you see right there, are the unconscious and individuation. And what I hope you know, and I think this is fascinating, so let's say it anyway. Inside that chrysalis is this miracle, which looks like green goo. The caterpillar has completely disintegrated and is in this state of, disarray, disorder. It looks like chaos, and yet it knows what it's doing. Something in it is directing its growth, its direction, how it forms. And so I just want to hold that image right there, because I think that feels like where we are a lot of the time, as we sort of cycle through our own personal individuation growth. But just to say, the unconscious is that's what separates Jung from Freud and everybody before that there is inside each one of us this, it's like gravity, almost unnoticeable. We take it like we don't even notice it, but there is this powerful, vast, unitive awareness, this consciousness that is below our ego awareness, and that in it is every human possibility, and it is part of our psychospiritual DNA, and that it is, Jung famously says, well, if the ego is the tip of the iceberg, the collective unconscious is the whole sea. All right. So, and then he talks about the personal unconscious. So I've got slides for that in a minute, but just that sense of this wild, ineffable, unknowable, beyond imagination, vast richness. And here's the other thing, so the unconscious is number one. Number two is individuation. All right. So the key between the two of them is the self. I'll go back to individuation is turning into yourself. Okay. This is what, this is that individuated caterpillar, the individuated larva and pupa and green goo. All right. Is that it becomes something that is teleologically built into it. And so inside the unconscious, there is this sense of self. You can call it the self, but it is that thing, and it gets a million names, right? It can be the true self, the essence, the presence, the divine, the image of God, or the Christ within. I mean, there's always a name for this. that is within and yet connected to something beyond the self that knows what it is we're about. All right. And that is, I wanted to read you from James Hollis. He's got a wonderful book. It's been out a while called Living an Examined Life. It's a really excellent 31 section book that you can sort of read one a day, and it's very helpful. But he talks about this. He says, what then is our task? Two things: individuation and overcoming the specific obstacles the fates have placed in our path. So he's talking about just that practice of returning to that task of becoming who it is you are. And how do you even do that? And he says, it's so simple, so difficult, so profound. But that is our gift to the world, not as self-aggrandizement, not as self-inflation, but as the simple service to the soul, which ultimately benefits everyone. So I guess I really want to say this because it's so easy to get the message that there's kind of something self-absorbed and selfish almost working on this project of tending to the soul and the direction that things are going. And really what I think is this world needs many more people who are willing to make that journey and take those risks and try to stay attuned to the direction of the self, that guiding vision that turns things like caterpillars and pupas into butterflies. So one thing that I have learned is don't get too far into any kind of presentation without telling a dream. So I'm going to tell you a dream because I think it helps to have a story to share. So this is one of mine from years ago. And I'm just going to tell you this. We can play with it a little bit, but mostly it's just to have something that unifies us, okay? So this was a long time ago, but in this dream, I'm walking down a dirt road in kind of like a little pine woods, and this black lab appears to my left, and I'm kind of scared of it. I'm unleashed dogs give me a little bit of a pause, but he seems like a friendly dog, and it's clear I'm supposed to follow him. So I do. And I go, through the woods to the left, and I come to this little, it's kind of a cottage. It sounds almost like a fairy tale. And in it, there's somebody with his back to me who is working over a stove, cooking something. And there's this sort of big cooking pot. And I go closer and I see that these are turnips that are boiling in the pot. And I also see that this person who I couldn't recognize from the back is actually someone I know. All right. This is actually a professor who I knew in waking life as a colleague. And kind of that paragon of intelligence and great teaching and, kind of had it all. And I get closer to speak to him, and I realize as I get closer, he's blind. He's blind, and it's sort of a shocking thing, but he knows I'm there and he knows who I am. And as he turns around to speak to me, the first thing he says is, I was given blindness to see past my books. And that was the wake up moment of that dream that seemed in itself very, very poignant. It seemed like an invitation to me, to look at that particular kind of knowing, sort of a limit to book knowledge, or that there's something beyond all that knowing that then takes you someplace else. And that for him, it required a blinding, something dramatic. But now he's cooking turnips in this sort of hermit hovel. And so I think that is, for me, something about an individuation process that there is a moment when you do kind of leave the path. There's a moment when you do kind of step into a strange territory. There are moments when you do encounter, like for me, this was, for those of you who, have studied animus issues, this was a significant step in the relationship with an animus who is in this moment gentling and becoming human in a really important way. And the relationship becomes more possible and more productive. And I also wanted to point out that when you do your work and you pull up those turnips, I mean, look at that, right? Tell me about turnips. Where do they come from, right? They're underground. They're stuff that has this dirt on them, and you don't really kind of know what it is. And maybe it's not as appealing as you thought, but it's that underground riches. It's the stuff from the unconscious that has staying power, that has nutritive value. And also, I think that's important is when you do your work, you find that it's never just for you. You are feeding others, and then you are in community where others feed you from their own what turns up, okay, for them. And so that, I think, is the picture of the dream group right there, in which we share what has turned up from the unconscious and what we've cooked or partially cooked or baked or half baked, but we bring that and share that in a way that feeds everybody. And I think there's also something there about that needs to be said about releasing the outcome. It's not necessarily a recipe that where we know where this is going. Just like turning off the road and following the dog. You feel a summons and you do it, and you take a leap, and it leads you to the next thing and the next thing. And the dreams are really carrying us along that. I think they're very trustworthy guides. There's a lot to say about that dream. And interestingly, it came right before the first time I actually presented something ever, and I think it was really a lovely message for me to get over my little book reading self and just be present to what was happening in that room and what there was that from my own, this is what's cooking, and which is always kind of one of those things, right? You kind of show up prepared, but then you say, well, and then what happened, right? So there we go. So I am curious if anybody has anything they want to offer about those images in that dream, anything that feels like it's a burning comment that they want to offer. And I can see only a few of you the way I've got this screen done. So maybe Alan, if you see anything coming up, could you moderate, please?
Yeah.
And it may be that we want to wait a little bit. That's fine.
Yeah. To me, it's what a fascinating dream. I was given blindness to see past my books. It's telling you to get out of your head, maybe back into your body, back into the ground, back into the earthy things. The dog is kind of like a symbol of the instincts. And maybe being a black dog, it's, that connects it to the earth again, to darkness, and that it's something that's, it's a powerful and friendly, helpful instinct, something that's loyal to you, but that you might not see or might not see well.
Yeah, and it's scary at first. I mean, I don't know, is it a scary dog or a friendly dog? I have to take them and try. Yeah, and I also love that blindness means there's going to be vulnerability where you really don't know. This was in the dream. That guy was totally blind, but he knew who I was and he knew how to cook turnips somehow. So things were good.
Dasha has a question, I think.
Oh, good. Hi, Dasha.
It's a Daisha, actually.
Daisha, sorry.
And not really a question, just more, it is a gorgeous dream. It's so beautiful, but I was really drawn to the image of just cooking. And like the big cauldron, the big pot, like that being kind of like that chrysalis symbol too, that place of alchemy and transformation. So I thought that was a really beautiful representation of that.
Yeah, that alchemical image, when Jung got a hold of alchemy, it was like, oh, that's what the individuation, he sort of put it, alchemy helped him actually name and describe and walk through that whole idea of individuation. So yeah, I love that picture. In the dream, there's only one, but
I really liked the play on the word turnip. And the way you pronounce it, it was like the minute you even said the turnip, I was like, oh, turn up the volume, turn up the flames, turn up the heat. There's so many associations where you can go with, and it's like a playful, it's an image. I mean, you can just, even if you just had that one image in a dream, it's like, boom, you could really go in a zillion directions.
Thank you. So Regina just said this fabulous thing about the fragment. Okay, so let me just say, not everybody, and certainly not me, these dreams that have sort of a nice shape to them, that is not necessarily normal. And a lot of dreams that you might, or what you remember of a dream is going to be just a little fragment. I love those things. They are so helpful. And it's like the psyche remembers what it needs. I totally believe that anything that we remember is useful. So, and in fact, I almost appreciate them more than the big, long sagas. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And, so I do think that, like, there's a lot in that dream, and you're welcome. That's any dream you hear me say is one that I either have permission to share or it's mine. And so this one's mine. You can play with that, and I'll give you somebody else's dream later on, and we'll play with a dream. I want to talk briefly about, so where does that come from? Wow, because it gave me just what I needed when I needed it. I was going to get real anxious about that whole thing, about that, and, but so I'm going to give you an image that I use because it makes sense to me of the way of the Jungian vision of the psyche. Okay. That totality of how we're put together in kind of the psycho-spiritual reality. All right. So I use this because I like nature and I like real things instead of little sketchy diagrams that confuse me. And there are much more elaborate ones out there, and every metaphor crashes at some point. So I'll let you'll see where this one kind of runs out. But I like the idea of a water lily because there's so much going on under the surface, right? And so if you think of the dream as that blossom that comes up, and let's just say it blossoms during the night. It is open during the night, it blossoms in the late afternoon, but don't worry about that. When you wake up, they're open. And so think of that's the dream. And it looks like it just like poof appeared. And it always amuses me. I don't know why I find this funny, because you may like totally go with this, but so no offense. When you think about it, people always, there's this idea that dreams fall out of the sky onto your head at night, like stardust or moonbeams. And I really feel like, and Jung's talking about this too, they are coming up from below. That's kind of the image I want y'all to play with and entertain here. So, that those lily pads are like our waking ego, right? That's who we think we are. You look at a pond surface and you go, that is a bunch of leaves. And so that's kind of that ego self, that waking life, how we put ourselves out there, who we think we are. This is what appears to be going on, right? And so that is our super important part of us. And we don't really disparage the ego. We need that part. I mean, there's a lot of photosynthesis happening. There's a lot of energy collecting there, and beauty and being present to the world going on that ego level. But that's kind of only the beginning. Underneath that, there's all this pond water. All right. There's this level between the bottom of the pond and the surface of the water. And I'm calling that sort of corresponds to the personal unconscious, where this is the part of the consciousness that Jung talked about. And I think this is really important. This is everything you don't know about yourself. These are things that you never never really came to consciousness about your life and experience. They can be things you sort of repressed, things you've forgotten. They can be those complexes, shadows. It's stuff that has to do with your personal experience as a human on this planet. And it's just beneath the surface. All right. So when you get triggered, it's the personal unconscious, probably some sort of complex going on down there. Now it's connected to more, but that's kind of the level at which it's living and operating. And one thing I love about this, and you know, there's a deeper level down there. I love this picture because look at those stems, right? All of this activity and beauty going on, connecting the ego through the personal unconscious down to the next layer, that deep unconscious. That's dream work right there. All right. That's any practice that connects your waking life, your waking ego to your deep soul. All right. That moves through all that personal stuff. And that can be anything. And a lot of times when I start a dream group, I ask people to say, so what tethers you? You know, what is your practice? That's something that connects you to something outside of yourself, right? And things like walking and cooking, and I mean, anything can be a practice that tethers and anchors. And like this picture indicates, there's usually more than one. I mean, we have an array. And so, you know, dreams are going to challenge us because it's that deep soul center in us, the self going, grow, change, here's something new. And the ego is probably going, I don't want anything to change. And so the dreams are kind of disturbing sometimes, or put us on edge, or make us, we don't know about that. And so if you've got some good practices besides dream work, you know, dream work is not a standalone discipline. You're going to be linking it to your waking life, your relationships, your work, your spirituality, you know, everything else. So that's a good question to think about, is what are those tethers for me that link my ego to my deep unconscious? And here's the picture. I mean, it looks like just more pond, but I mean, I'm trying to get the bottom in there. And here's the thought that I want you to think is that the bottom of that pond is not just the bottom of that pond. It is the surface of the earth, all the way, all of it, right? So when you think about continental shelves and Alps and all of that, it's this continuous surface, right? And that is connected. So your little water lily is connected to all of that. It's all available. All right. And we share it. We share that, which is why my dream means something to you and your dream means something to me. And your myth, even if it's not my myth, gives me a big aha, right? And just because it's a great quote, Jung said, you know, dreams are private myths. Myths are public dreams. And that's at that level, down in that dirt. That's where the archetypes live, right? Right? That's where some of that deep shared structure of being human, that's where that comes from. And so what really roots us, and this is a funny picture, but that's the root of that single water lily that digs down into that big matrix that is everything. And it organizes the life and structure and function and growth of that water lily. And so that's what I want to give us as a picture of the self, that there's this thing that lives down deep and takes what it needs from the unconscious, moves through the personal unconscious, everything's kind of working together. That's where the metaphor gets a little funny. And then pushes that dream out into the world, you know, and there it is, you know, in your morning, and it's coming from someplace, that lovely shimmering white, gorgeous, sun-catching dream that's what we're looking for. You know, that's what we're really honoring, is the movement of the self, that thing that impels the chrysalis into the butterfly, and everything, you know, that, you know, you think about the acorn that contains the oak and all of that. It's just nature. It's not a belief system, although it fits into belief systems. It's just nature. So what I'd like to do is give y'all, I'm just going to give you Jeremy Taylor's 10 assumptions, because it's a great place to go to base. And I have a handout to give you at the end of this. So all of this, like the 10 assumptions and 4 steps and all that, that's on the handout. And we're working on the best way to get that to you by email. Or I can just post it on the website if you want to do that. I'll send it to you, Karen, and you can do the right thing. Okay. So Jeremy Taylor, who died recently, was one of the best dream teachers around, and he was he lived in California. He was a UU minister, Unitarian Universalist minister, and he took dream work everywhere, and he helped people realize, oh, I can do this. I can help others do this. He really helped open that whole thing up and normalize the conversation and invite people into it. Okay, so here are some things, and I just want to run through these because I think this is helpful to understand kind of where I'm coming from and where a lot of people who do dream work in groups are coming from. So all dreams come in the service of healing and wholeness is that first one, which is kind of astounding. If you have nightmares regularly, even trauma dreams, they're there to help. And I'm not going to convince you of this in 1 minute, you know. But I've been doing this for a long time, and I really believe that's true. And I think it has to do with how you orient yourself to the dream and what you understand a dream to be doing. So I'm going to bracket that, and I say, I will hold that for you if it doesn't make sense. And, you know, not to buy into any of this, but I do believe that's true. No dream comes to tell the dreamer what he or she already knows. There's always news. Only the dreamer can say with any certainty what their dream means. This is why we're so careful with that you statements. We don't do that. Only the dreamer can get that aha. Now you might, and that is the touchstone. The dreamer's own body with that, that's how you know that it's yours now. All right. Now, other people may have absolutely brilliant interpretations of a dream, but if you're not feeling it, it's not yours now. You're on your own path. And that, and this is number 4, that aha of recognition, that's really very important. Now, you might think other things are important too, and they are. And so just write them down, you know, as they come to you. But in terms of how do I live? How do I orient myself to my next day based on the dream that gave me that aha? Go with where the energy is. It's a lot of it is paying attention to your energy and having a sense of trust in that, and that self that's organizing that. So there's no such thing as a dream with one meaning. They are multi-layered and kind of infinite. So you can come back to the same dream over and over and over, and you'll see your dreams referring you to previous dreams sometimes. You know, they're like, you remember that? Let's look at that again. And so you can learn a lot about old dreams by going back to them. And we'll talk a little bit about keeping a dream journal. But if you're writing down your dreams and you also write down what's going on in your waking life, right then, it's amazing. You know, like, oh, these things match. Often we don't get it right away. So it makes sense to kind of go back and do a dream review every year or every 6 months and just go, how is it that dreams and waking life are actually functioning together, you know? So he says all dreams speak a universal language of metaphor and symbol. And I would like to add emotion. So kind of these images drenched in emotion, that's how dreams get our attention. That's how they present pictures and feelings, like and yes, there's all kinds of other stuff going on there, you know, but it's speaking metaphor and symbol and image. Sometimes you get language, but mostly your language centers are off while you're dreaming. So in the brain. So, you know, some people get a lot of chatter, but most of the time, you know, you're waking up, grasping for words, going. One of my favorite moments in Shakespeare is when Bottom wakes up from a dream in the Midsummer Night's Dream. And he's like, he can't even get his syntax right. Methought I had, and methought I was. And it's like, no man can say what I thought I had. No man can say what, you know, and then he starts mangling this ecstatic utterance from St. Paul, and he just can't get it. You know, I'm like, yes, that is exactly how it is. But he's so noble in that moment as he struggles for language. Yeah, he just has to give it up. But it's pictures, feelings. And I love this. All dreams reflect inborn creativity and the ability to face and solve life's problems. That means if you dream it, you can do it. You can handle it. The dream will help you learn how, you know, it's all packaged in there like a little seed. All dreams reflect society as a whole, as well as the dreamer's relationship to it. That is a mouthful. That takes a while, I think, to kind of live into that. But it is that that thing. It showed up in some of those COVID dreams, you know, where it's like, oh, this is what's going on is COVID, and this is what it means to me. But it's also, you know, there'd be websites posting COVID dreams, and it's everybody was getting a lot out of those. It wasn't just so personal. It was helping people understand how to feel what they were feeling and make decisions and be in relationship. All right. Working with dreams regularly improves relationships with friends, lovers, partners, parents, and others. So you're being honest. You're being honest, and you're doing your work when you tend your dreams. It's like this straight up, you know, word for the day. It's a little bewildering, and I totally know that, but that is a lot of times it's just humbling because you're doing shadow work over and over and over. And so you're not projecting your shadow into other people. You're dealing with your own. That gives people a lot of room. There's a lot of compassion that goes into sustained dream work. Which is kind of this 10th point. Working with dreams in groups builds community, intimacy, and support, and begins to influence society as a whole, I think is what this is. Which is why I really think having a lot of dream groups in the world is a good thing, and helping people feel, you know, empowered to lead groups is a good thing. So that's Jeremy Taylor, and his book that I think is a great place to start is called The Wisdom of Your Dreams. It will blow your mind. It's really fun. He gets into all that stuff about how, you know, the evolution of the archetypes and the evolution of human society. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. A lot of talking from me. We are now, did y'all happen to bring pencil and paper? If you didn't, take a second and grab some. So this is fun to do live, and we're not live. So what I have here is my big dark bag. This is the unconscious. All right. And I'm going to reach in, and we're going to see what turns up. All right. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to stop the share for a few minutes. I want to see your faces. Okay. So you're going to write. And I'm just going to pull it for us. And I do not know what this is. All right. This is a pulley. All right. You know what a pulley is, how it works? Anybody unclear on the pulley concept? Okay. There's a rope that goes around here, and you hoist things up and drop them down. Okay. So this is a pulley. All right. So here's what I want you to do. The first way that we work with that you can just take on a dream image. So this is your dream image, right? We're all dreaming it together. It's just to write down, like, well, what is that? What comes to mind? What comes to mind for you? You can say, like, well, what is it? How does it work? Or you can say, like, well, where have you encountered pulleys in your life? What comes up for you when you just look at that? So jot down a few words about pulley. And this one is about 1.5 inches metal. I swiped it from my son. Okay. If people are coming to mind, stories that you know. Situations. All right. You see how this could go on a while? Yeah. So you can just kind of, so hold on to that because you're going to have a chance to talk about this if you care to. That is one great way when you sit down with the dream to go, okay, what in the world? It's just to go, what are the main, where's the emotion the strongest? What have I got? What's sort of pulling me? And what do I associate with that? And there'll be memories, or there'll be some sort of a, a function or a color that brings up something for you. All right. And that's all that personal association stuff. Okay. That is super rich, and you can go on way too long and miss your first phone call of the morning if you're doing your dream work right off the bat. But that's one really great way to get in there, because this is all about you. There's another way too, and that is, instead of trying to figure out the thing, figure out the image or the symbol or the whole dream, you go, wait a minute. And this is a sort of a simple way of putting it, but everything in the dream is a part of you. Let's just go with saying it that way. Everything in the dream is a part of the dreamer. And that's, you didn't say it exactly that way, but that's kind of a later development, and it was incredibly helpful as a way to get down to what is going on with this. Why this image now? You don't have to figure it out because it's part of you and it is there to tell you. So what you can do is talk to the image. All right. And Jung calls this active imagination. And sometimes you find yourself just kind of talking to the walls anyway, or talking to yourself as you drive. Kids do this, writers do this. It's pretty normal, actually. But I'm going to give you Bob Haas's shortcut way of doing this activity called active imagination that you can spend a long time with. And his way of working with this is what he calls the 6 magic questions. All right. And so instead of showing you these right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, I'm just going to call these out, and you'll get them on the handout. What I'm going to ask you to do is flip your paper over, because we're going to approach this dream another way. So we're still working with the pulley. All right. But what I want you to do is to take a minute and become the pulley. I want you to sort of enter into that image, and I will hold this up one more time. I mean, this little 1.5 inches or so hard metal thing with this part that rolls in the middle, has kind of an axis. Just kind of let yourself move a little closer and a little closer, and drop your own awareness as yourself, and see if you can just sort of be the pulley. And then I'm going to ask you some questions. And I would like you to answer them as though you are this pulley. All right. So go ahead and have your pencil ready. But just give yourself a minute to just sort of be this thing. Just want to come closer. And all right. Well, let's just try this. So the first question is, what are you? Describe yourself. And answer, I am. All right. I am. Next question is, what is your purpose or function? What's your purpose or function? What do you like best about being yourself? What is the one thing you like best about being yourself? And is there one thing that you dislike most about being yourself? What's one thing you dislike about being yourself? What is your greatest fear? What is your greatest fear? And what is your heart's desire? What is your heart's desire? And is there anything you'd like to say directly to this person that is working with you? You. As though you were the dreamer. What might this say to you? So take a minute and look back over what you've written and just sort of feel into that. Are you picking up on anything that feels like, that is true for me now? That is something true for me now. And sometimes that emerges when you look at 3 and 4, like and dislike. Sometimes that tension points to a growing edge. I find that fear and desire are almost always something's kind of running up against each other there, right? So that can sometimes be a really rich point in this little exercise. Something, yeah. So sometimes those answers show you, how to, something suggests a way into either getting past roadblocks or fears, or really, I think of it all as sort of being in alignment, not being sort of split or separated, but kind of unified in your energies. And I'm thinking about that direct line. We call it the ego self axis. You know, just that flow between the depth of yourself and the way that you live in the world. And that sometimes the dreams really help make that feel like, get what that should feel like. Sometimes I get a dream and I go, I do not know what that means, but the way that feels is a way I want to feel. You know, I want to live like that. And I don't even understand the image at all. But so what I want to ask you to do now is to, where's my stop share button? Hang on. Where did it go? There's all kinds of stuff up here. There it is. What I want to do now is put you in little pairs for about 6 minutes. And you don't have to share intimately, but talk about what came up for you as much as you want to about those two approaches to working with an image. Okay. And I am going to, where do they put these now? I'm sorry. It used to be that it was very
it's where the ellipsis is, the 3 dots.
more. Okay, it's now more. Breakout rooms. There we go. Right. So as people kind of get back in. A lot of times, those of us who do this kind of work end up kind of being introverts and would rather talk to one person than a room full. So I'm not going to ask you to do a whole lot of reporting back. You've had I hope, a conversation in which you kind of, got to share a little bit about how that felt and what came up for you and what's nudging you now. And so hold on to your notes because, they're live. They're for you. Okay. What we're going to do next, and I'm going to wait till everybody's in. Does this look about right, Karen? Are we about all here? So we're going to work a dream in a group. Okay. We are one dream group right now. And this is not going to be the long, juicy version, but it's going to be the plan. All right. And here is how we do this. And one of our big objectives here is to have this rich time sharing the dream, but not getting into the dreamer stuff. This is not therapy. I'm not a therapist. And really, I'll just go ahead and say this right now. If you know for a fact that you are working some deep stuff that's really like probably traumatic, and it's going to be a lot of just self-revelation and vulnerability, you probably don't need a dream group right now for that kind of work, because it's really not going to, you're going to want to talk about things and need to talk about things that is not what the group is there to do. And they're not equipped to do that. And I am not, I'm pretty clear about my boundaries. So I'm just going to give that caveat, and also if you're dealing with some trauma stuff, it can be so rich to do this through dreams, but you never know who's in the group and what's going to trigger them. So I have to take care of the group by just kind of saying that caveat on the front end. That said, there are some fabulous dream workers. Here's one right here, Karen, who are Jungian oriented therapists, and they know exactly what to do. So that's good. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a dream, all right, from the dream file, and I'm going to tell it to you twice, and then I'm just going to ask you to ask me questions to just clarify the movie, basically. All right, and then you're going to do some other things, and I'm just going to walk you through this. All right. So this is a very short dream, and the title is Houston. All right. And I have permission to share this. All you need to know is that the dreamer, like you would know this if you were in a group, the dreamer is a woman about 45. And here is the here's the story. So I'm staring out the window at my neighborhood, and I see, I'm sorry, that's not right. I'm standing on the street in my neighborhood, and across the street is my duplex, and I see myself staring out the window of that duplex. All right. It's actually not the side I live on. It's my neighbor's window, but it's me staring out that window, looking towards me in the street. So there's two of me kind of in the duplex window. There's just sort of no emotion. It's kind of an overcast day. It's just an ordinary neighborhood. The phone rings inside the house where the me who is standing inside. So the phone rings and I answer and I say, hello. And the voice says, this is Houston. And instantly it begins to pour down rain. All right, so I'm gonna tell you that again. I'm standing on the street in my neighborhood, looking at my own duplex across the street. And I see in the window myself looking out the window, okay, into the street. And it just happens to be that that's the opposite side that I live on. Sort of no emotion, gray day, nothing seems extraordinary. And then the phone rings and the me who is inside answers the phone and says, hello. And the voice on the phone says, this is Houston. And instantly it begins to pour down rain. Right. So ask a few questions, and this can go on like all night, and we're not going to do that. But a few of you ask a few questions that you need to know to get that dream so that you can dream it yourself in your imagination, which is the next step. What's not clear? And I'm going to turn off this so I can see you. Yeah, Daisha.
Are there any colors, any other colors within the dream?
No other colors. Just the whole thing's just kind of gray and, unremarkable.
Okay.
It'd be great to know what's going on in her life, of course.
Wouldn't it? But
yeah.
we don't. We're not gonna, that's her business. So we will not ask her. This is so great. Thank you so much, Alan. In a dream group, we never ask questions about the dreamer.
Okay, interesting.
Only the dream, because we are going to experience that dream as though it is ours. So we're going to fill in it's like your unconscious is naturally going to start riffing with this thing. That's what's so valuable for the dreamer as well as for you. And that's how we stay out of each other's stuff and we have good boundaries. That's super hard if you know these people very well. Okay. So Henny.
Any associations to Houston? Do you live in Houston? What is Houston?
Yeah, so that's the thing that we don't know, right? Because we're not going to ask. This dreamer is a Nashville person, and I don't know, she's just sitting in front of us. Ellen.
Is it a man's voice on the phone or a woman's?
Oh, thank you. It is a man's voice on the phone. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can I just say, so the woman on the street, the dream is from her perspective. And she's looking at herself. The woman in the house who's herself gets the phone call.
Yeah.
She just overhears then the phone call going on.
It's a dream thing. That's one reason I gave you this dream, is because it's like, oh, dual perspectives in one dream. It doesn't make sense. And now that's who she is.
I got it.
It's the phone call.
Got it.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that, because that's exactly, sometimes it does not make sense. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, Daisha. Yeah.
Just to clarify that last question. So did both versions of this woman have awareness of the other?
As well as I can recall how she says it, they don't really actually, the one on the phone doesn't actually sort of register the one on the street the same way. Just kind of gazing aimlessly, but yeah. It's all about, it all happens really fast. This is a fast moving dream. Okay, one more. Are you seeing how you can ask just a few basic questions, but it's like in there, it's bubbling? Oh, I see. LJ.
Is it a cell phone that rings or an older sort of
Boy,
rotary?
I
Yeah.
have no idea. You feel that way. I didn't even think to ask that. Okay. Fill that one in. Yeah. Okay, but you're getting a sense of it, right? It's like telling a story and your imagination starts filling in. So now all that I want you to do is just drop down in there and take a couple of minutes and just dream that dream. Just let it happen for you and sort of blossom in your own imagination, okay? You're not trying to think about it and solve it. Just let it happen, okay? So I'm going to give you a minute or two. Just meditate with it. Okay, so if you're in a dream circle right now, the dreamer, who is not here, okay, would turn off her video camera because we always like to be so agreeable, and so as we're talking about the dream, we really don't want the dreamer's reactions, and we want to give the dreamer the privacy to be kind of doing her note taking or however she wants to react, but off camera. So we'll just sort of imaginatively have that dreamer turn around, that she's not here and I'm facilitating, so I'll stay on. So the next step is you just sort of notice what got you about this dream. And this can be things that you wonder about, associations like we just did. Maybe something's kind of talking to you. Maybe, let's just see. And sometimes you don't have to have answers. You can just say, I wonder, I'm curious about, I notice. All right. Just sort of reporting how that dream affected you. All right. Including any sort of symbols this reminds me of, that's fine to do too. But so let's open that up. And here's the big thing. All right, everybody pause. Everything you say needs to be prefaced with the phrase, in my dream. All right. This is the big deal. This is why it works. We're not telling the dreamer what her dream means. We are never telling the dreamer what the dream. How did we know? We can't know, right? Even if we know the dreamer really well, we don't know what that dream means. It's the mystery of that person's soul. Okay. So all we can do is say, in my dream, and then say what we felt or picked up on. It is so honest. All right. And you only say what comes to you from your experience by imaginatively participating in that dream. All right. And I wish we had the real dreamer here to just go, oh my gosh. All right. Because it's kind of amazing what happens. But let's just start with that. And I'll try to just do the hand raise thing, and you can raise your real hand if you want to. I'll be watching. So in my dream, and I don't go first. What are you picking up on? Okay, Daisha.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can. Everybody else?
So if this were my dream, the feel of gray skies, just kind of gray overcast, I start to feel just a lot of ambiguity. It almost feels like things are closing in around me. I see this as kind of like a period of waiting for something that's coming. The windows, I think of boundaries, filters, again, just this impending something's coming. And because it's a phone that rings, I feel like it's some kind of communication that I'm waiting on. And for me, if in my dream, when I hear this is Houston, I associate that with the catchphrase Houston, we have a problem. So in my active imagination, I even saw the phone as being read, and I felt like this is like some almost like a warning or some kind of information that's coming. Yeah, that I'm kind of protecting myself or trying to protect myself from.
Thank you. And I always just say, thank you. Okay. Because yeah, everything's legit if it's coming from you. What else? What else is coming up? All right. Okay. I think some phrase, Ellen. Yeah.
Well, definitely the Houston thing came up for me. Houston, we have a problem came up. But as I imagine myself looking at myself, I feel like I'm so focused on that me in the window that I don't realize I'm getting ready to just get drenched, that it's getting ready to pour down rain on me. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I'm more focused on something that is not maybe my business. So that's what worked for me.
Yeah. Barbara.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Gotcha. Uh-huh.
I didn't associate this as Houston with something bad. It was just like some kind of communication having to do with the space program. And then I had the feeling that something was about to happen. And then it rained. And I absolutely love rain. And so it was like, yeah, kind of a release.
Thank you. And you're going to notice, we don't feel the same. There is no right answer here. Remember, dreams are all these levels and layers, and it is what it is to you, right? And we're just playing with it. So who's got something else? I love it when things like, those two things can't exist. Well, yes, they can. Penny.
In my dream, I'm struck by the duality. I'm on opposite sides of the street. I'm inside on one side, I'm outside on the other side. There's a duplex. It's like, well, I'm wondering about what opposites within me do I need to reconcile? What are the different parts of my personality or myself that seem to be conflicting that I need to contemplate now?
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Karen.
Myself. In my dream, I'm feeling duplicitous and separated and in opposition to myself. And boy, Houston, that is a problem. That's how I would do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It may be interesting. Let's just step into that, hearing the words, this is Houston. Let's just focus on that. All right. And like, what comes up for you in that moment, feeling wise? And associations of, anything that comes up. We've had some good associations, but I'm curious because that could mean a lot of different things. So LJ, what's up for you?
Yeah, in my dream, I'm about to blast off. In a good way.
In a good way. Okay.
I'm going for it.
Anybody else? This is Houston. Remembering that everything, okay, let's go with this. If everything in the dream is a part of you, who is Houston for you? What part of you is Houston? Think about that a second. Daisha, what are you thinking?
So I was thinking, with Houston and weather, I'm almost feeling like it's almost like a warning saying like now is not the time to blast off. That it could be treacherous because of weather. So if it were me in my dream, if I am Houston, or if I'm the person taking the call from Houston, I feel like it is perhaps telling me, you know, if I have like a big project or something, that some new venture or something I'm wanting to invest in, that maybe the time isn't now. Like maybe I need to pause and wait for the weather to kind of clear.
Anybody else? Let's take one more. But you see how that changes. If I'm asking you, what is Houston for you? What part of you is Houston that's calling you up and announcing itself? And then somehow the heavens open and there's just this deluge, right? That is a potent source of something right there. And so, you know, in my dream, as I was dreaming this dream, you know, which is, I mean, one of the ways I work when I'm sitting with somebody one-on-one is a lot of it's just projection. It's not like I'm trying to get it right. It's just like I'm trying to loosen it up. So something, it helps the dreamer, right? To go, no, no, no. Oh, you know, so in my dream, I'm tapping into like that self source. It's the boss. It's the boss, and it's connected, it's distant, it's authoritative. But as soon as it announces itself, the whole atmosphere, you know, it's just like rain, emotion, the sense of release and just cleansing and muchness. And I think of that kind of rain made me feel like that kind of tears, like, wow, something big I'm in touch with something big, and it's overwhelming and in a good way. And I'm feeling super connected, but also like I'm about to be given a mission, and I'm not so sure how I feel about that. So dreams are disturbing sometimes. I mean, really, you know, you do get these incredible, lovely dreams where you just feel like, oh, I'm so solid, everything's so great, I am the beloved, it's this, and then a lot of times like, and here's where we are on the path, you know, and this is like, get ready for this. And then you realize, oh, it's constant. We never arrive. That butterfly, that's where the metaphor breaks down. It's more like a dragonfly. Dragonflies take like 17 iterations before they themselves, right? So it's on and on. And so what, I guess I'm watching our time. And I wanted to read you this poem. So I'm going to minimize somebody over here. Just something to leave you with here. These days, whatever you have to say, leave the roots on, let them dangle, and the dirt, just to make clear where they come from. So there's that deep source. And I guess I have questions. I mean, what are your questions? Diving down below the surface into some of this. And I'm not sure I can see people and also have little ducktails at the same time. So I'm going to stop the share, even though it's a really, all right. So questions that come up. You sort of get the concept. You feel like you've got enough of a taste of what that is and how that works. Oh, the piece that we, so sorry. Then the dreamer comes back in and the dreamer goes, y'all. The dreamer goes, oh my God. The dreamers say, I can't believe all that. And then, you know, because they've been writing their hearts out, you know, while you were doing all your stuff, being as totally honest about your experience of the dream, because what you said helped them sort of find their way, all right, to what that dream was moving in them. And then they can report on that or not. They can just say thank you, or they can just say whatever they need to. But here's the thing I want you to do. Whatever got you in that dream, if there was something that kind of nudged you, write that down. Would you please write that down right now? Because that's yours. That's yours to work with, to play with. And on that handout that you're going to get is a little list of ways to play with dreams. All right. Because you take it to the body, you externalize it, you paint it, you dance it, you make a mask, somebody that scares you, and you put it on and you take it off and you burn it if you need to, or whatever you do. I mean, you interact with it's a relationship more than getting it. It's not cracking a code, it's the relationship. That's what leads you on your way. All right. So for instance, when that professor showed up, that was a significant shift towards warmth, humanity, and connectedness, and an animus figure I've been working with for a year. All right. It was a huge breakthrough for me. So appreciated it. But any questions y'all have, I would be happy to. Yeah.
Oh, Ellen or me?
I said Karen, but go ahead, Karen. And
Okay. Well, because you're talking about the anonymous, and then there's the anima, and you know, I don't know if everybody knows what that is, but sometimes it's hard to tell who is who in a dream. How do you identify, you know, an anonymous in a dream? Or
here's the thing. I'm going to tell y'all something, and this is on YouTube, and I just like, okay, here it is. I have discovered that my best teaching is I teach towards your 10th grade self, your advanced skills, highly intelligent, recently myelinated 10th grader. And so it's really fascinating to get down into the nitty gritty of the Jungian types, but really what you know is it's other, you know, and then we can kind of work with that. And when I teach in a dream group, what I'm doing is I'm helping you get some tools, but I'm also teaching what the dreams present. So for instance, in that dream, I would say, here's what an animus is. An animus as defined by Carl Jung, and that's under some discussion these days with, you know, I mean, the whole gender and sexuality thing is not what it used to be in Vienna and, you know, and in Zurich in 1912. So, but it's an otherness that feels like, and what an animus is going to do is usually in the dreams of a woman is a masculine figure that helps you see the next place you're going, what you have it in you to actually do and be and accomplish, and how, and says to you, you're already here and I'm helping, and have the faith that you're doing this already. You've got it. I'm standing in the thing that feels like new country, and I'm bridging you into that. That's one of the things an animus can do, a positive animus. So, so all that Jungian teaching, I mean, we go where the dreams want us to, and I have a million handouts and some good books for you. And we just kind of let the dreams present the curriculum in a group. And I have this little bitty tiny dream book that you download free on the website, and that's what we use as our textbook for the first dream group. So, or I'll send you one if you want to. So, good question. And Ellen, did you have a question?
Yeah, and this may be something I just need to look on the website. Is like, how does the dream group work? Everybody brings a dream, or you may bring a dream, or how's it?
Yeah, so what we do is I limit it to 6 because it's, you know, it's intimate. We're working together, and we're committed. And each night we work 2 dreams, and so you work at least 2 or 3 dreams. I mean, I'll do the math based on how many people are actually in it, and we and so you're following the process over a season. So it's every other week from end of January to middle of May. And so, you know, the season in the world turns, and your own season kind of shifts, you know, who you are kind of changes from winter to spring. And that gives you time to kind of watch a process unfold, track a character, notice how your relationship with a dream image starts to shift, watch synchronicity spring up in waking life. Notice how this always happens. we start dreaming each other's stuff. We're all dreaming about feet. We're all dreaming about, I mean, the day that 3 people were dreaming about parsley, I'm just like, what is this? There's all this, we're so connected, So it's rich and intimate. It's all that stuff Jeremy Taylor was talking about. And so what happens is you are tapping into your soul growth at where you are now. And then you learn skills to keep going with that. And I'm a big believer in dream partners. So that even if you're not in a group, if you have one person that you're talking to, that can be so good.
Barbara, you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to say how much all this resonates with me and how I was able to attend a dream workshop with Jeremy Taylor several years ago at a Unitarian church in Columbia, Missouri. And one of the things he did, we each put our dream, something about our dream in a hat. He drew one out, and then he took a whole half a day working on that one dream. And it was absolutely amazing. So thank you for doing this. It all resonates.
He was one of my teachers, and he was amazing. Yeah.
Yes, I recommend his books.
Absolutely. Anything else? And yeah, Daisha, one more thing.
This is kind of a silly question, but I cannot tell you how many times I've bumped up against this. How do you actually pronounce you? Is it Jung or Young?
Oh, I love it. It's like Oedipus or Oedipus and all that. I mean, I say Carl Jung, it's kind of I don't know. But Karen, how do you say it?
Jung.
Jung.
Yeah,
Okay.
like Laura does. Yeah.
Okay.
But people say Jung, and
Yeah, you're not
kinda
going to be ejected from a group because you say it a different way. It's okay.
Right. I just was curious because I've actually had a couple of folks that I've been in other groups with actually call me out for that. And so with this group, I was curious how you pronounce it. So thank you.
Yeah. What are there any other questions before we wrap up tonight? Any?
Question, but just more of a mini testimonial. I'm in one of Laura's dream sharing groups, and I really find like it really is a different experience than doing it on your own. Like it really does enhance the work, and there really is that intimacy and bonding in our group. So it's really a remarkable experience.
And one thing that is going on in Henny's group, if you're in it a while, we can sort of loosen up and start playing a little bit with the form, but it's really important that first form to, you really develop that discipline of sticking with the boundaries. And I think that helps everybody. And then when we loosen up a little bit, it's with a kind of integrity and intimacy that is really nice. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for being here. This was fun, and it was certainly enlightening as always. Laura, I learned something from you every time, and I love the photos and the idea that these are soul poems. That's just going to stick with me. So thank you so much. And I also want you all to save the date on February 17th. That's when our next speaker will be here. Some of you may have heard him before, but he's never been with the Nashville Jung Circle, Dr. Lionel Corbett, on the new God image. And he was one of my professors at Pacifica Graduate Institute. He is amazing. So, if you can, save the date. And Laura, thank you so much. This is great.
Always a pleasure. And y'all be in touch with me if you're interested in doing group. So
thank you all.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you all. So good to see you. Fun to play. Bye.
Bye.